conference will now be recorded.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started and call the meeting to order at 5:31. Roll call. At-large Cummins.
Here.
At-large Poston.
Here.
Ward 1 Coob.
Yeah.
Ward 3 Johnston.
Yes.
Absent is Ward 2 Helm. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion by Poston, seconded by Johnston.
Cummins? Yes. Poston?
Yes.
Coop?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
All right, moving on to the communications portion. If there's anybody present who'd like to address the council, now would be the time to do so. There are no scheduled communications. No? All right, then we will move on to the consent agenda. These are routine items that will be enacted with one motion without separate discussion unless a council member requests separate consideration. Approval of the council meeting minutes of August 25th, 2025. Approval of the investment and treasurer's reports of July 2025. Approval of the South Spruce Street improvements, pay application number 1 and change order number 1. Approval of the homecoming parade route, September 17th at 6 p.m. Approval of the updated VFW color run route, September 27th. Approval of the trunk or treat and car show, Sunday, October 26th from 1 to 3 with street closure on 5th Street from Cedar to Meridian, and then Meridian Street from 5th to 4th Street and parking between 5th and the courthouse. Approval of the to designate trick or treat on Friday, October 31st from 5 to 7, and the Hard Arca Board requests to close 5th Street from Cedar to Meridian on October 31st at 6 o'clock to show an outdoor movie. Approval of new totes for garbage and recycling. Approval protective landscape barrier put around new switchgear. Approval of selling of the 2015 F-150 pickup from the electric department. And then approval of the claims register, which includes claims paid under the current purchase policy. Any of those items need to be pulled out for separate discussion?
I don't really necessarily need it to be for separate discussion, but I would strongly encourage the council to think about doing a trunk or trunk or treat. We have never done that, and I think that that would be a good idea. And being on 5th Street. Yeah, so
good point. Okay.
if some people could consider that, I'll have a trunk for my business and a trunk for the chamber as well. So I might be not able to go to all 3, but I will do my best. But if somebody else could also consider that, maybe email each other, something like that.
Hey, Abby,
Don't give me that look.
if you guys decide that you want to do that, let me know and I will get all the candy for you.
See, candy's covered, guys. You can even eat some of it. Okay, otherwise I make a motion.
I'm just like, well, I'm really trying to think. I probably could bring my Jeep up, but I don't know. I'm usually helping Linda, so I don't know that I can man it. I'll send out an email to the council.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll let you know, Linda.
We have some time. Let's think about it.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion by Cummins, seconded by Poston.
Poston?
Yes.
Coop?
Yeah.
Johnson?
Yes.
Cummins? Yes.
All right, moving on to city business. First item is ordinance number 596. An ordinance amending chapter 110 gas utilities, section 11007 of the city code of ordinances. This is the final reading.
We haven't had any new public input. That'll come later.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Ooh,
Luke got it.
I'm like, who was that, Luke?
Yeah.
Okay. Motion by Poston, seconded by Johnston.
Coop?
Yeah.
Johnston?
Yes.
Cummins? Yes. Poston?
Yes.
Okay, next is resolution number 090825A. That's the resolution approving and accepting voluntary annexation of city-owned property.
And at your last meeting, you did 3 readings in order to create a public use zone in our zoning ordinance. This would bring our sites for the solar and the wastewater operation into the city, and it would have that public use zoning when it comes in.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Poston, seconded by Coop.
Johnston,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
Poston,
Yes.
Coop.
Yes.
All right, next is resolution number 090825B. This is the resolution authorizing and approving a loan agreement providing for the placement and issuance of and securing a payment of a $1,950,000 electric revenue bonds, series 2025.
This is a redo based on the original bid winner for the financing of this withdrew their proposal. Apparently, whoever came up with the proposal went further than what his board
The reach.
wanted to do. So this one has makes approval of a consortium of our 3 local lenders, which is very good. You don't see that a lot anymore, where locals combine like that for a community project. There's some, there are some features to this. This 1.9 million is a maximum. Initially, it would be a number like that, but when tax credits come in later, we're allowed to use those immediately toward the loan. And whereas a lot of times a loan like this might have one call date in the future, this allows for prepayment at any time. So it's a bit higher interest rate, but it also has features that are useful to us.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion by Poston, seconded by Cummins.
Johnston,
Yes.
Cummins.
Yes.
Poston,
Yes.
Coop.
All right, moving on, discussion and possible action concerning the hiring process for the city manager position. So this is what we really need to do today in order to get it advertised and out is finalize the job description. I had reviewed the job description based on the request of some, just really comparing it to city manager job descriptions within other municipalities. There are a couple of you have responded and given feedback. Nothing really too earth shattering. I think the first thing was really just whether or not to change the title. It's neither here nor there of that position, but city administrator seems to be the more common term for that position. Again, I don't know that that's an earth shattering thing. Basically the summary of the job description, I just added a couple little pieces. There was a piece of combination of education and experience under the requirements because that's really required common language these days. And that was really it. That was really the only feedback. There was just maybe some terminology things, language things that were sent back. There is one line item that was recognized. I think it references TEDCO under committees that would need to either be more generic or removed. But other than that, if anybody else has any thoughts or input about the job description before we finalize that, that would be the time to have that discussion. No? Anyone? No?
I haven't seen it, but a lot of times that description is, it's very wide in what the job is.
Mhm.
When I've seen these positions advertised, a lot of times there's a profile that goes along with the resume. And it often will, for outside candidates, it will describe the town and the system we have. But the other thing it does is it emphasizes what the council is looking to do in the next, say, year or two. So just as an example, we've been pursuing council a number of delinquent properties, code violations, that kind of thing. So if that's a point of emphasis, then you'd want the candidates to know that. And maybe it's of interest to some, maybe it's not, but at least it gives them an idea of what the council's expectations are. And I'm sure there are others beyond that, but that's just one that came to mind.
I think the job description, admittedly, I sort of picked it all apart and then put it all back together because professionally, what I'm used to, it's a very generic job description. So, you know, like I'm used to seeing 7 or 8 page job descriptions. So, which makes it a little bit easier to hold somebody accountable with a more specific, you know, defined job description. But again, that's solely based on preference. If nobody has any other additions, we'll just wrap it up. And
Sorry to interrupt you. Are you making it city manager or city administrator?
well, I think that's an undecided under. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you want to leave it as it is as city manager, or do you want to update it into?
I don't mean to interrupt.
Oh,
If I remember right, city manager and city administrator are 2 different things statutorily through the code. If I remember right, the city administrator is not involved in personnel, or a city manager is.
Not if you
My
read
friend
them.
used to deal with this quite frequently.
I Googled that and now I don't remember what I found.
Am I saying that right, Brent?
I've seen the job used pretty much synonymously.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it doesn't matter.
It's
If you
what,
look at
it's,
other small surrounding communities with a relatively close population, it pretty much encompasses all of the HR personnel, everything.
I don't mean.
No, it's okay. It's a good
my,
question.
my personal preference is city manager, but that's up to you folks. You would have to you'd have to go through the city code and
Yeah.
look for places where you change city manager to city administrator, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, that would be the only thing, is it would be that extra step or extra headache to have to change all the ordinance sections that reference the city manager. Yeah, I mean, we can leave it. I don't care. I just, in comparison with trying to, you know, just update it. That was the conclusion I came to. So if we want to leave it, that's fine.
Tipton actually used to be city administrator. There was a time when it wasn't. It was either Dick Sherrod or Gus Glazer requested that it be manager for some status that he carried and needed to continue. And I don't remember the
Yeah.
specifics beyond that, but that's
Yeah.
what it was.
I heard it was Gus, but the job before was called city coordinator. There's still some records and files around that I've seen where it was referred to that. And then, yeah, as I heard it, Gus came in because he was city manager in Macocata. He requested the change. My first job title in my first town in Minnesota was city coordinator. And while doing coordinating is a lot of what we do, I never liked that title because it sounds like a little bit like you're a caterer or something like that. So city manager, city administrator is better than city coordinator.
Authoritative.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It does.
I know.
Whereas administrator sounds more like, oh, I'm just gonna do your paperwork.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't mean to lessen that, but.
Manager
in my
sounds more
brain,
authoritative.
So that was why I thought it.
That's fine. We can
But
leave
I'm
it.
good
It
with
makes it
whatever.
easier than to not have to change all the ordinance sections if we just leave it.
Instead,
Okay.
everyone else thinks.
Okay.
One vote for city presidente.
Oh, is that an option?
That's going to take a whole new job description.
Well-
Denied. All right, so we'll get that wrapped up. I know, do I have the authority to do that? So one of the other, a secondary question, just so that we can know when we advertise it. And I know this is going to be a hot button issue, but I have to ask the question, is the residency requirement. This is a huge thing with the community, if you recall. And so I've had many, many people stop me in the grocery store or at Walmart or Casey's, wanting confirmation that we were going to require that new city manager to live within the city limits. So we need to make that decision.
I've heard, I mean, I know, I've heard the same thing, but then I've also talked to professionals about it that might be in the position, and you kind of restrict yourself on
Yeah,
who
absolutely.
you're gonna
Yep.
get.
And then
And
by city, do you mean literally within the city limits?
Well, that
or-
would be the, I think, a compromise
And
is.
their compromise was like a 15 to 20-minute radius.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what I wondered too, is because, you know, like, let's say, well, for instance, when I worked for RBAP, now granted, that's a little bit different because you're taking emergency calls, but you had to be within a radius, and that was kind of where my brain went to, is like, can the person get here within a certain amount of time? I don't know. And then, of course, I mean, obviously, the biggest issue, right, is that they have our town the best
In
interest.
focus.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's, to me, the important part.
I think part of the idea of having the person be a resident is they work with the council in helping to set the tax rate. And they work with the council in having to set utility rates. And so the idea would be they would be more sensitive to those things if they were living here and paying those things along with the council and the citizens. If you do the residency requirement, I suppose I would suggest not requiring it unless they survive a probationary period. You'd hate to have somebody move here,
Yes,
buy a home or
agreed.
something like that, and then they don't make it through probation.
Yeah, I agree.
Great idea. What were you gonna say, Brad? I'm sorry, I'm never talking here, I actually tell you for once. I've just found with employees, I would rather have somebody who shows up to work every single day and do their job, be committed to it, and that's what I'm focused on, than somebody who lives here and is not committed to the community. I've seen the council enforce residency requirements. It's worked. But I didn't see Brian show up to work every single day and on his days off to handle things. He did not need to live here for us to be successful. We needed the right applicant. And I think that you could create a pickle for yourself too for recruiting people. You might find that one guy who lives out there 19 miles outside of your area. Instead of 18 miles, 19 miles. Just built a brand new house that's there forever. I have a difficult time with that. We've had a city manager from Rock Island who showed up and did their job every day. Worked. We've had guys in town that haven't.
I agree with that, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I'm not
I
a
just
big-
am bringing it up because it's been really a hot button issue with the
I
public.
get it, I do. I mean,
And-
it's tough, because I understand that, I really do. But then the other side of me also is like, you want to have the right person, not just because they're in town, you know? Now, it doesn't mean that there isn't the right person in town.
Yeah.
You know, or it doesn't mean that they wouldn't move here. I just hate to restrict ourselves, I guess. That's tough. What does everyone else think?
Yeah, I agree. But I guess if we're gonna make a residency requirement, then I think they need to be, like the council, they need to be in the city limits. I don't think if you're gonna make a resident requirement, then putting them, there's no difference to me if they live 10 miles away or 20 miles away. I mean, it's kind of the same idea. So if we're okay with them living outside of town, then they can live, as long as they get here, anywhere. But if we're gonna put a residency requirement on it, like I want them in the city limits like the rest of us. I don't want them living out in, let's say, in a development, and then, it's not the same then. It's the same as not being here.
Well, that's true, because theoretically, if you're talking about a development, and if you're taking the logic of the taxes and the whatever, that is not part of it then.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. I guess I don't care,
Yeah.
but I guess if we're going to go, then I think it needs to either be all in or it doesn't matter.
I mean, I'm gonna throw my 2 cents in there because I think there was a little jab, maybe it wasn't, but there's only so many places in town to move.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they want to build a new house, sorry, my development's basically the only one to do it. They're not in city limits, but they're 4 minutes away.
I don't think it was meant to suggest.
No, I know.
Okay.
But there's been,
I
it's
understand.
been,
Yeah.
Struck a nerve, obviously.
it's been like that on other things that I've,
Yeah.
volunteerism that I've been on, like, oh, you're outside of the town, you're 4 minutes away, can you make it? It's like, well, it takes me just as long to come from that
Right.
side of town as it does
Right.
out there.
Mhm.
So, and I did, yeah, but,
Yeah. I
I mean, if we get somebody young, what, the life expectancy of a city manager is what, 4.5, 5 years?
Well, God, when Brian started, he was 20.
Yeah,
Look at how much it ages you.
Look at me now.
But I mean, you know what I mean by.
Well, I think it depends.
expectancy
I mean,
it's,
If they're not looking to have a place be like a stepping stone,
right.
then probably 5 to 8 or 9
Okay.
years, something like that. Before, then people turn on you intense.
Yeah.
The thing is, when you're you're advocating for different sides of an issue, and over time, if those issues become unpopular, then you can be associated with them. So yeah, sometimes you just feel internally kind of a pressure, like, is it time for me to move on? And I think those things start to enter minds around 5+ years, something like that.
What did you think, Tammy?
well, I mean, I get all the points. I mean, I think selfishly, I mean, who's, the public's gonna, want an answer on why we didn't require it. I mean, that's my thing is, I probably have had 18 people who have reached out and said, you are gonna require the new city manager to live within the city limits, right? Actually one of them this morning at the gas pump. So I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other. Look, I worked in Iowa City for 30 years,
Yeah,
right?
that's just it. I mean,
So,
look at-
I think that if whoever we hire comes here and likes it here and wants to stay here, they'll move here, right?
You would hope.
You would hope.
Oh, exactly.
You would hope. And I guess, my assumption, just based on my professional experience, if they don't, they're not a long-term, they're not staying long-term.
If somebody, if you choose to have somebody who might not live in the city limits, the important thing there is, and this is what I've tried to do, you try to live through the council. What is the council sensitive to? How might the public react to the council? As long as you're sensitive to what the council might feel when it raises taxes or raises rates, that's important. That can be as important as when somebody lives here.
I think an easy compromise would be to have a residency restriction with, an X amount of miles within the city limits, or within the, whether that's 20 miles or 30 minutes or what, I don't know.
I'd be more agreeable to a 30-minute response time, I think. That way you're not cutting out as many potential position candidates. They're still going to be close enough that they can feel the community, even though they're outside of it. And that guarantees.
Well, I guess the other thing, sorry to interrupt, Kevin. Go ahead. What to think about is from an emergency response standpoint is what's the definition of emergency response? Because if you have a true emergency response, the mayor is actually your incident commander, not your city manager. So, if that's the way you want to look at it from that perspective, if it's a true, I don't know, building collapse, storm damage, that needs some sort of incident command. The incident command actually is, from the city's perspective, is the mayor. So what type of emergency response would we have that would require that person to be here within, a short amount of time? Not to say that we wouldn't want them to come or be here, if nothing else for the, public information officer role that they would get delegated by the incident commander. But, that would be, define that emergency.
But I would think that you could take them into emergency session over technology. I mean, from my days with UMA, the job of the city administrator or city manager would be to facilitate an emergency session and to get funds readily available for emergency response. You can do it on the phone if you need to. And we don't have to deal with that.
Right.
And you might want to leave the door open to whatever candidate comes in and then decide. But I agree with what Jason said near the top of this, and that is, if you have a residency requirement, there aren't a lot of choices for
Right.
residents at that given time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
A lot of times when I've seen recruitment and it's done by, say, a search firm, they'll show available housing, just to give examples, if housing is available. To give the candidates some comfort zone that if they land here, there are places that they can select. But you're right, if they want to build something new, the choices there are pretty limited.
I mean, there is a lot of houses for sale in town now. I mean, you have that option.
Mhm.
I myself like the verbiage of, I guess, kind of within a certain mile radius. My 2 cents. What that is, I don't know.
Okay.
Could I ask you, you said that, several people have encouraged that the residency requirement be there.
Mhm.
Have they gone into much about what their reasoning is, what they're looking for in requiring that?
And follow-up question, how many of them work in town? Out of that 18, do they work in town themselves? Think about that too.
That's a good question. Some of them I don't even know, to be honest.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's hard
Yeah.
to make somebody else work in
Yeah.
town if we can't even make ourselves.
Right. So I think it, to the majority of them, in short, summarizing sort of their comments, is it shows that city manager is committed to this community. But yeah, that's a really good question, Abby, because I would say probably half of them work in town, but there's a couple, I have absolutely no idea where they work, so I don't.
But you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah.
I like I said, I get it. I
Mhm.
understand. You want to have that person be invested into your community. But that doesn't mean they're not.
No,
You know?
and that's what I've said. I'm like,
I mean, how many people?
doesn't
do
mean
we
they don't get
know-
gas here, they don't
I
eat here,
was
they
gonna
don't
say,
go to
and
grocery store
How many
here.
people do
Yeah.
we know that live in Tipton that you hear about driving to frickin' Hy-Vee or Fairway or whatever to go get their groceries instead of going to
Yeah.
Family
Yeah.
Foods?
Yeah.
Or going out to Walmart to buy their flowers instead of going to the greenhouse?
Yep.
Which granted, Walmart is kind of Tipton, but it's kind of not. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get it.
It's
get
just, it's tough.
I just felt obligated to ask the question
Yes.
because
I
it's been,
understand.
it was sort of, it's been kind of a hot button
No,
issue,
and I've
so.
heard that, with the,
Mhm.
in the past. So, I mean, I understand it. I just have a hard time making that requirement. Because you want the right person for the
Mhm.
job.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? So what I'm gathering is this consensus is no residency requirement?
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
That's where I'm at.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Okay, so the next question then is the use of a consultant. I think I sent all of you an email. So the initial consultant estimate or proposal that was sent was $17,500. The second one actually declined because they work with the first proposal, the first group of the proposal. So that's really the only one we have at this point. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I think that's a ridiculous amount of money. But I'm a little bit biased because recruiters, headhunters, and consultants have never really worked out well for me in my professional life. And so I'm a little bit uneasy about spending that much money. I feel like we have, enough expertise between, the council members knowing what the expectation of that of that position is. I think, and, Brian has offered to be part of the search. I think that's maybe a reasonable compromise, is to have Brian maybe serve as that role to a certain degree, as much as he's willing, I guess.
Well, on the other hand, I'll take that severance package now.
Denied. Just something to think about. I mean, again, it's up to you guys, but I have a real hard time spending that kind of
I
money,
think the
taxpayers' money for that.
The biggest reason you would do that is because they have a reach, right?
Well, right. They have a reach, and maybe they know somebody who's looking to move from a smaller community up to a bigger community, or somebody that would maybe be a good fit. But I think,
What kind of reach do you have, Brian?
Well, we had talked about it. I guess it started with maybe bringing Melissa in, and then she wanted to bring me in. If it's us, a couple of things occurred to me. Are there limitations on the search and what we ought to be doing? Second, we would need some kind of input from the council on what you're looking for. So if we come up with something, and if you give us guidelines on what you want to do, we might ask for a work session, to go through it and what the process is. But I think we need to be offered some form of amnesty, because we're probably going to get crossways with somebody. If what we suggest is not taken well, if we look to place an ad somewhere that you don't agree with, Now, I don't see, we wouldn't be bringing applicants and saying, well, we think these three. If we had multiple applications, I think that would be another work session where you go through them and you decide. But again, on limitations, are we going to try to, if we do this, are we going to try to cast a net that is fairly wide? Are there internal candidates? I think there are, or I think there will be. And if so, we probably should look at whether or not they are isolated from this process. So, those are some things that just came to mind on how this might be done. So, it's going to take some time to put together if we do it. On the 6-month notice I gave, we've gone through over 2 of those months. It may be the case that if you land somebody, the process, the evaluation of what comes in, the interview process, the process that they might have to give notice somewhere, we might be talking into January. It's possible. So just have to realize that. Now, I told Tammy and Melissa, even though my last day is officially December 31st, I wouldn't leave you guys high and dry. Even if it's voluntary on my part. Tipton has done a lot for me. And I know that I don't live here, but I see things through the eyes of somebody who does. town I lived in, I see them as a rival, actually. If they get a grant, I think, oh, why didn't we get that
That one where
first?
you lived, where you used to work, that you
Yeah,
still live?
yeah, that foreign country.
What's that on every email?
So, yeah, and I don't, and admittedly, I've been here over 8 years and I haven't followed the town government and its happenings yet because I'm more hooked, I'm hooked into what this town government does. So, we are concerned that as staff, that we might get crossways with somebody out there, maybe somebody up here. And if that happens, we hope that there will be some sort of forgiveness that would be allowed.
Yeah, well, I think that's the risk any manager takes when they hire people. It's the story of my life. I mean, I think anybody who's hired people, there's always a chance somebody's going to be upset if you don't pick them. So, I think that's, I think in one of the original emails or one of the last few emails I had sent to the council about, this process was that, from Melissa's perspective, I think it's significantly important that she's involved in this process because she has to work the closest with this person. And so, just from her, job satisfaction, we need to make sure that she, feels like she's comfortable or is willing to work with whoever, we choose. I mean, I realize that sometimes isn't always the case where you go to work, you don't get to pick your boss, right? But, I think we can all appreciate what Melissa does for all of us. And that it would behoove us to have her input in this process.
Well, she's who I work with the most.
Yeah, that's my point, is I think it's.
Yeah. And there are a number of things that have, even though she probably didn't bargain for it, have been delegated her way, and she stepped up to do them. I mean, I know we call her finance director. She's also the assistant city manager, and in a lot of ways, she's really that.
She didn't bargain for the 9 emails a day she gets from the mayor either.
Yeah.
So
That's another duties as assigned.
if we do this without hiring a consultant,
Mhm.
we have places to advertise. I mean,
Well, and how much is that gonna cost?
that's kind of my.
Well, it's going to cost regardless. I mean, whether you have a consultant or not, you're going to have to pay for advertising. So
Right.
I think that's.
But do we have outlets?
Well, you have to have the Iowa League of Cities. You have the Iowa Mayor's Association. You could put it out.
The League of Cities is free. We could put it on, I think most people in Iowa would look at the League of Cities and the city manager's grapevine, it's a messaging system that we've used, probably on ClerksNet. And like you say, other associations like the mayor's. And, it isn't that costly if you advertise in, say, the league in Minnesota and the league in Wisconsin. That's not a big deal to do.
I just wanted to make sure we had outlets
Yeah.
to get that.
Yeah. And then we would have our own, the city's Facebook and website and those kind of things. Bradley.
Paper.
I had 2 things. Last time we went through a process, and I don't know if many of the council members were here for that. We'd think we'd want to know what Brian's opinion was on what you went through last time, what went well and what did not go well for the process.
In the selection process?
Yeah.
Well, in my case, when they did it at that time, it was mostly Pat Callahan who did the work. They had a position profile created. We probably still have that somewhere. I suppose we could adapt it to now. It had a number of things that the council at that time wanted to emphasize, as, like I said earlier. The common thing to do, more common now, is instead of bringing somebody in or having individual interviews and one interview and you're done, what is more usually done, and it was done when I was hired here, and it was done when I was hired in my other town. You bring them all in, and you have them sort of mix around from group to group and be questioned from, say, a committee of employees, a committee of the elected people, maybe some people from the general public. They also had like mixers to see how, they are with other people. I'm imagining in this case of this new person, you're probably going to want somebody who's more outgoing than I am. I imagine that was part of the, have somebody live here because maybe they would mix in. If they show that they can do that, then, that might be an aspect that you're looking for. But I think part of the thing in what you write up is you have to come up with like a personality type. You're not locked into it, but you could give some sort of emphasis, because a lot of times what you'll see is they're not looking for somebody who dominates and directs department heads. They're looking more for somebody who's more collaborative, gives department heads, latitude to operate, but within, say, a defined lane, so maybe they don't get out of their lane. But also you want to have somebody who, in a case like Tipton, where department heads have the freedom to help each other. They're not segregated from each other. So, coming up with the personality type that you're interested in would be part of this too.
Everything that I was going to comment. Sorry, you guys are talking about my future boss.
Do you want to sit up here?
Today, yeah, I'd love to give you feedback. One of the things that I felt like all of us as managers was that the council engaged us in the process to hire. Respectfully, he's all of our bosses, and we all should be working very closely with them, and feedback should be just that. I felt like the last hiring, we all had the opportunity to give that feedback collectively, and people take it how they wanted to. I hope that we do the same thing.
Does anybody have any impressions of where, the other thing that I guess I thought of, and I don't even know if it's possible, would be if Hinson would, for example, would do sort of a cut down scope where maybe we internally handle quite a bit of it, and then they take it from a point at some point the rest of the way. I don't know if they would even go for that, but it was something that kind of crossed my mind.
That wouldn't be bad to look into. As long as we know what we want, we really just want them to be able to reach someone, right? That's really the only reason we would want them.
Unless you would want them to do
the biggest reason
the interviewing process, if you would want them to conduct the interviewing process.
I don't know. For me, the biggest reason would be for their reach, I guess.
Right, but I think with with like the League of Cities.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty big reach, honestly.
Yeah. If someone's looking and they know where to look, yeah, I think you're right.
Mm-hmm. And I would think anybody.
You would hope they would know where to look.
They would know, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Very true.
Just to add to what Abby's saying, though, I didn't react so much to an ad for Tipton. It was more that Pat Callahan, who did the process here, contacted me. In fact, I remember him, that's when times weren't so good where I was. He said, "Come to Tipton, the water's fine." Well, then I was able to meet with Tim Long. What?
My gum, I just snapped. I don't like when people snap gum, and I just snapped my gum, sorry.
It's okay. Anyway, I met with Tim Long and talked to him for maybe 2 to 3 hours about what the job was and that kind of stuff. So some of it is ad some of it can be interpersonal because of contacts you might know.
Even when Callahan offered the service, we still interviewed him. I remember being part of
Yeah.
the staff.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
Group
Callahan
interviews,
asked
yeah.
Questions and the management part of it, or did the mayor, do you remember, Brian?
they had kind of a mix. I think I may have met with at least 3 groups. And I think there was one group that had just elected people, but I think there was 1 or 2 that had a mix of staff and elected.
Pat acted as the ringleader on that one.
Yeah,
He was clearly the neutral guy that, I mean, respectfully, he did care, but he didn't care what you said. His job was to make you see what needed to be seen, to
Yeah.
get a good idea.
yeah,
And I think what you're kind of saying, very difficult for an employee in this organization to be that neutral.
Yeah.
In fact, I would feel sorrow for them. That would be tough. Maybe Stu Clark wants to be that guy.
No comment, that's Stu. All right. Okay. So just for the sake of time, and we can move on. So do we want to just at least get the job description done, give it advertised?
Yes.
And then we can have further conversations moving forward,
Yes.
you know, as applications start to come in and how we want to proceed, or what do you think, boss?
That's your guys' decision.
I think so.
If we're advertising, are we just doing the job description, or are we doing, like what Brian said, job description and a profile? How does,
I don't know, the profile from a legal standpoint, that gives me heebie-jeebies. Well, that seems like that seems like you're gonna run into some you could run into some legal pushback with that. I don't know. That would actually never cross my mind because I've never done it, but it just seems like, sort of like the mass groups interviews, there's gonna need to be somebody who focuses the interviews so that we're not asking people, you know, our applicants questions that they shouldn't be asked, you know, from a legal perspective, because we don't want to have somebody, any group, you know, whether it's department heads or the public or whoever, you know, ask an applicant a question that legally they can't ask, and then we're stuck with them.
I think that's a very big concern, to be honest with you, because I think the majority of us,
Yeah, me
I
too.
mean, I look it up all the time when I'm doing interviews, and I haven't done one for a while because we haven't needed somebody for a while, but it's amazing the things that you have to be very cautious about, what you ask, what you say, and in a small town, to be quite honest, a lot of the people just ask it anyway.
No, I agree.
And so we can't be those people that just ask it anyway. So that is a big concern, to be honest with you.
when I have seen ads, and I've looked lately just to see what's done, they almost always have a position profile that goes with the job description. It gives people an idea of what the city is that they would be applying to. The other thing is, I don't think an ad would be considered very strongly by people unless it said something about what the pay range is.
Sure.
I think, you know, if it doesn't say that, they're just gonna go to the next ad for a city manager or city administrator.
I can see that.
Hey, Tammy, there is, you can look up, there's lists that tell you what you can and can't ask.
Oh, yeah.
I've been on a couple panels for other towns.
Yeah.
Departments.
Well, yeah, we could print those and give them to people,
It's
but
pretty helpful. You know, TG.
But the profile, you know, it's a controlled message. It says what you wanna say.
Do we have the profile from last time?
I can look.
Yeah,
Curious
no.
just to see.
Yeah, and I might have it somewhere myself.
so if we can find that and I can send it out to all of you, you can give some feedback.
Yeah, you probably wanna look at it and adapt it to what you're interested as priorities today, but it'll give you an idea.
Okay. Well, let's do that and that'll at least get us started.
Yeah.
Is everybody okay with that? Yeah?
Mhm.
Okay, all right. So then, last thing is closed session. Closed session as permitted by Iowa Code Section 21.5A, 388.91, and 21.5. The council at this time can go into closed session to review or discuss records which are required or authorized by state or federal law to keep confidential, to discuss proprietary information and information required by a non-customer contracting party to be kept confidential pursuant to a non-disclosure agreement which relates to electric transmission planning and construction and critical engineering energy infrastructure, and to discuss information contained in records in the custody of a governmental body that are confidential records pursuant to section 22.7 subsection 50. So motion to open the closed session.
Second.
Okay, motion by Poston, seconded, or by Cummins, seconded by Poston.
Poston,
Yes.
Coop,
Yes.
Johnson, Cummins.
Yes.
Yeah, because Sue needs the, I assume.
This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so moving on to number 6 under
Do we
city
need to open the
business.
door?
Oh, yeah.
Should we just, I don't know, I'm just asking. I can go get it.
As a police chief is
Just yell for
probably
him.
still out there.
Probably just leave it out there.
I'm assuming there's not anyone out there, but.
The dog's in the building.
Okay, so moving on to last item under city business is discussion and potential action following the closed session.
I will make a motion to proceed as discussed.
Second.
Motion by Cummins, seconded by Poston.
Coop,
Coop seconded?
He did.
Oh,
Oh,
I didn't hear.
I didn't hear it either.
I didn't hear him either.
Okay,
Speak up, man.
sorry, I didn't hear either,
That's
Kevin.
far apart.
He was jumping up and down.
Okay,
Good.
motion by Cummins, seconded by Coop.
Coop, Coop, Johnson,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
Poston.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to other reports. There's no department heads. John, do you have anything else?
As you guys know, solar project, they broke ground on Friday. Posted a few pictures on our
Yes,
Facebook and sent
yes.
you guys those same pictures.
Mhm.
Other than that, compliance for power plant is here tomorrow and the next day, so.
Fun times.
And you notice that the wires are starting to disappear on Fourth Street.
The what?
What's happening? The wires.
Oh, the wires.
Overhead wires. Guys been doing the job.
Lisa? No? Okay, right, Brian?
I just want to mention that the grid resilience grant that the city or that the electric utility applied for, there's supposed to be a preliminary decision on who they're interested in. As far, it's not official, but it's a preliminary selection that's supposed to be on or around October 3rd.
What's that?
Mm-mm.
Council members?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. The only thing I was going to mention, and I forgot to mention it 2 weeks ago when we had our meeting, was at the, on Saturday, the 23rd of August, the school had their all bash or whatever it was called, and the community visioning group was there to show just kind of the plan boards or the proposed boards for the community visioning project. There was some action from the community, some interest, but not a lot. Our ISU groups were there to kind of talk people through it as well. But I think it was a good opportunity to be out in the public and to show those boards. But we'll see if there's any. We did give some contact information to a couple of different community members, so we'll see if they give any feedback. But that's all I had. Anything else from anybody before motion to adjourn? Okay. If not, motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Coop, seconded by Poston.
Johnston,
Yes.
Cummings,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Coop.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Perfect.